Do you have a routine that you stick to?
Ooh, in the mornings? Yeah, actually most mornings I meditate and do yoga. Nothing more than like 30 minutes, nothing crazy. And yeah, sometimes I do like a sound healing with sound bowls, and I have matcha every morning. I'm a slow riser, like I'll take my time getting up.
Do you feel like having a routine or some kind of rituals helps you get into a creative mindset?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with just grounding me. As an artist, like my pleasure is my work, so like having something that's pleasurable but maybe isn't painting is really good, you know? Something I enjoy that is grounding and peaceful and meditative but isn't like work, because technically like painting is work in a way, even though it's also pleasure. So I just like finding many different avenues of pleasure to enjoy.
How do you deal with that, the dichotomy, work and pleasure?
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, I like to find pleasure in my work, but I'm also like a very driven person, I would say. So it's all about finding that balance, like taking things really far, like pushing myself for sure, having that like hardworking mindset, but also like I'm working because I want to enjoy life, you know, like I make money and like have a career and all that to support like a life that I want to live. So they're very like intricately connected, I would say.
Do you have any examples of pieces that you've been doing recently and how that process has been?
Yeah, for sure. So this one behind me, it's not quite done. Like you can see, it has some silly like ducks that need to get finished, but some of it is done. Like the babies, all the faces are finished. And yeah, the process on this one has been like a long time. Like it's taken me months, and it's been very layered. And I started with just like a simple like moment of inspiration with this mural that we have in the backyard by Anton. He's a fellow artist here at Unruly. I'm wearing his necklace right now. He did this mural painting of the Last Supper. And so the table in this painting is kind of reminiscent of the Last Supper, that like famous Renaissance painting or whatever. And the process with it was just like kind of starting with the inspiration and then like really getting like structured. Like this is where that like work and play thing kind of comes back. Like, okay, I have this like moment of inspiration and now like how do I make it a reality? Like getting it concrete. So yeah, I kind of like framed the whole thing out and have just been slowly adding layers, starting with acrylic and finishing with oil. And it kind of goes with this greater theme that I'm working on these days, which this painting over here is also a part of. That's kind of about taking things that might be scary, like here, it's kind of like a death scene or like an attack, but making them like so pleasurable and full of life that it kind of shows like the balance of life. Just making things a little bit easier to digest. Yeah.
You mean like things like life and death and...
Yeah, for sure. All types of things. Life and death for sure has been a big one in this series. But also in the past I've worked with like psychedelics, sex or love, just like really deep, like core things that we all experience in life.
What do you want to be the takeaway or like the feeling that people feel when they see these type of pieces?
Oh, that's such a good question. I guess I want people to feel an invitation, a welcomeness, a brightness, a sense of like love and acceptance, for sure, when looking at my work. And I want them to kind of unfold. Like I want you to be able to look at them for a long time and kind of see new things each time and read into them is important to me, depending on like the theme.
Do you think you need to be feeling what the feeling is that you want people to get from the art? Or is it something that you kind of remove yourself from after a certain point?
Yeah. You know what's crazy also, I feel like you're asking about like the the viewers like experience. Like as a painter, you know, we're making work so they can be seen. But so much of my work has just been like coming from a really like personal place and coming from like this kind of shift that I experienced in my life from like being super religious to the like opposite of that, very spiritual. And so in a way it's been like really personal work. And then while I am considering how it's being received and like the viewer's interpretation, I think more so I feel like that will come naturally based on like what I'm putting out, the energy I'm putting out. So for sure, I need to be in like a loving, like be meditating, be dancing, be drinking like lion's mane mushrooms, you know, so that I can like be putting out work that feels, you can feel that, you know, because it's just a reflection of where I'm at.
What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, it was really good. I'm really thankful for it. When it happened, I was like at a really like in the middle of my childhood, at a really good age for it. So while it was like early enough for me to catch it and for like the spiritual part of my life to really become like who I am, I also felt like it was kind of a double life, like a shift. Even though that was hard, I feel like it's actually ended up being a gift. Like experiencing both sides of the coin, I now feel like I can make work that connects to people from all different like walks of religion and spirituality. Because at the end of the day, like this is still kind of like the Last Supper, Adam and Eve, like Garden of Eden. So like my grandma would totally love this painting, even though I'm like drinking ayahuasca in Peru and like talking about something very different than like how she sees it, you know. It's just nice to like bring people together. Yeah, so the transition was good, even though it was hard.
Do you think there's any universal themes that have emerged for you that are relatable to most people?
Yeah, I think about like some of the titles of my paintings, like one I have upstairs is called Life is a Dance. This one is called Death is Life, or Life is Death, something like that. Yeah, so things like that. Seeing death, seeing like love and spirituality, all of it as like very positive and a joy to experience, like what a treasure. Even like the pain of life, it's just like similar to contrasting colors, you know, it brings out the joy and the love and the pleasure. So yeah, stuff like that, positive outlook on life.
How do you maintain that outlook? Is there anything you're consciously doing to maintain positivity?
Yeah, I mean the meditation for sure, all of the tools that I mentioned. In practice for sure, just like continuously. It sounds like kind of simple and like doesn't really make sense, but just coming back to the present moment and like enjoying, it's so crazy, it's so simple, but like enjoying my in-breath and enjoying my out-breath. That is what keeps me so like grounded and positive and yeah, just able to like make work like this, staying present.
Let's say you have a bad day or bad experience. How is there a way that you reset? Do you have any? I mean, you kind of said, I guess, already, but
that's
how
good.
do you work through something like that?
Yeah, because shit does come up. I love to do. There's like two different things that come to mind. One is emotional release, so like setting up a space. Ideally, like where I have like there's like really space. There's no one around. Like it can't be heard. And like just releasing like whatever needs to come out, really like moving it through the body, breath, sound, and movement. Like whatever is coming up, if it's like rage or sadness, just like truly like feeling it is the most important thing for me. Because I notice like after I feel it, it tends to like shift or something loosens in me so I can like move through it, you know, it's not like stuck. And if it's something with another like person, like a tension I'm feeling, I like to do aspecting. So like I can put that person like in this mug and I can be like, oh, I'm so angry at you. And then I'll actually switch places with the mug and be like, respond to myself like from their perspective, like, you know, you really hurt me, or like this is what's coming up for me. So I can like gain some perspective and like have that conversation without even needing to like talk to them. Yeah, just like tools like that. It's all about, for me, like moving it through, you know, not like ruminating as much as I can. Yeah.
That's cool. I've never heard of that.
Aspecting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a really good tool.
I feel like a lot of people assume that creative people solve their problems through their art.
Oh, you know? Word.
And I feel like that's, a lot of times it's not the case. You know,
word.
There has to be other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Word, that's so true. I feel like for me, art is more so a place I go to when I like when I feel complete with that, when I want to express like the full story. I used to make work that was a little bit more like depressing and processing that stuff. There's totally a place for that, 100%. I think it's just where I'm at as an artist right now. Artists in New York, like we come here and we push our work like so hard. It becomes so about like push, work, career. And I feel like I've gotten to this place where like there's always more work to be done for sure, but I feel like I've paid my dues in a way, and I've gotten to this like lightness space where I can kind of rest in it. You know, I don't have to like keep pushing it.
What was that like, the monetization, the selling of art and things like that? How's that been for you?
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good question. That's layered for sure. I feel like when I first started making art and coming into this career, I went with that. And I pushed myself really hard and like was even like in the style that I was making work, like this painting over here is one of my older ones. And it's so different. It's like just, you can tell it's a lot, it's still a great painting, but it's like quicker made, more quickly. And yeah, so I was making work more like that, where it was just like flowing out of me like really quick, and leaning into that like high production rate. Which was a joy, and I love that like time in my life. I loved making that work. But eventually, it's just not something you can maintain, you know, on a realistic level. And they're also, at the same time, as it's like unrealistic, there's also a lot of pressure to do it, you know, to maintain that unrealistic level of like production and stress and promotion and all of that. And again, I don't want to knock on it at all, because it got me to this place where I am for sure, and I'm thankful for it. But yeah, I just eventually had to not slow down, but just take my time, you know. I'm not even making like less work or painting less than I was before. I'm just giving myself the full time for it to like get to the level I want it to be at, which does take more time. I love talking about this because it's helping me like reflect on how I feel about this stuff. Yeah, because I think maybe my pace is just like for me, you know, like I found a really good groove where I'm at. And for me, that means it is connected to ritual for sure. Like I like to work between 11 and 4, very like European hours, and like have a lunch break. Or sometimes maybe I'm feeling super fired up and I'm painting like all day or whatever all night. Or maybe some days I want to go to the spa and I do that. But that's a pace that works for me. And then, you know, there's other ways that totally work for other people. Like Anton will paint all through the night and paints like he's a high producer for sure, which I very highly respect. So I feel like when it comes to finding your pace and taking your time, it's just about getting in touch with your intuition and what works for you. Like really listening to that, you know.
I'm trying to think about different themes. Yeah, like what have been some of your favorite themes that you keep coming back to?
I feel like definitely universal stuff that we can all connect to. Actually, this painting has a list of words on it that are like universal emotions that we all feel. And these are actually, in a way, different themes that I've visited through my work. Some of them in there, like pain or anger or love. Just certain, this is actually a connection to the painting above it. It's an extension. But in a way, it's its own because it's, it kind of shows what I want to talk about as an artist. So in this work, I was talking more so about God as love, God as like the infinite net that connects all of us. And I was really into spirituality at that time because I was doing, I was like kind of in the midst of going to Peru to do ayahuasca, so I had a lot of focus on spirituality and God specifically. And I've also had a lot of work that is about healing, working through things, like kind of what we were talking about before, working through things that are painful by like being present with them and like knowing that it's just like the fullness of life, you know. Many different themes. Also like this one kind of about sex for sure, like seeing sex as a gateway to spirituality. I feel like the body is such like an amazing portal into the divine, and I love to paint about that.
What do you think about God now, after having thought about it for a long time? I think I feel more about God than I think about God. I feel like we can all just feel and understand what God is, like this place that we go, like if you close your eyes and you're totally quiet and you just feel this connection, this like aliveness, almost like the person in you who's just watching, who's not doing, they're just like there inside, presence. So I kind of see God as that, like the light within each of us, that is the same in me and you know? And I don't think of God as like a being that says like this is what happens, but more so as like a net of energy that is like the fuel for life, the seed of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely seems that there's a lot of connectedness that people try to explain in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Yeah, especially these days, it's been so crazy. Like the change from when we were kids, like maybe it's just because I grew up in the South, but everyone I knew was like believed in God as like a man, you know, and lived in the sky kind of vibe. But now I meet so many people who are really coming into this like belief of God as an energy. It's very interesting. The benefit also is neither like good nor bad, because God is, as much as like God is loving and like creates this beautiful world, like God is also like pain, and like really like difficult, like torturous things that we have to go through in life, you know? So I feel like it's more of just like an awareness instead of like like God is saving me, like what a gift to like have God in my life. It's more like just a presence, like an awareness of this like fullness of life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how about the like the sexuality theme? What is the value of that to you?
I feel like, especially coming from a religious place, it was interesting. I was actually just talking to a friend about it last night. Our, like, at least for me, sexuality was very, like, pushed down. I'm, like, can't find the word for it right now, but just restricted and not talked about, like, muted, repressed. And so it's interesting to kind of make art that uses that exact thing that Christianity repressed to talk about the divine. You know, like, for me, that's just been incredibly empowering as an artist. So that's kind of why I use sex as a tool in painting. Yeah, like reclaiming it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. They've repressed things, and it seems kind of unique to have both things related. You know, like a lot of people maybe think of them as opposites or conflicting.
Like sexuality and abstinence?
Or sexuality and spirituality.
Oh, word, yeah, 100%. That's so true. But it's the opposite of true. Like they're one thing, you know, in my experience. But it's different for everyone. Again, always come back to that.
What would you say to someone who's in the process of finding their voice through art?
To listen. Yeah, to listen to their voice, what's coming through. Yeah, that's all I would say, to deeply listen. Because as an artist, especially in New York, there's always a lot of pressure to like make work a certain kind of way. Like you're going to meet a lot of people who have opinions about what you should be making. Everyone who sees my work and my experience, especially when I was first making art, like kind of has an opinion and like will push you in a direction. And like I both like fully took advantage of that, like, oh my God, soak up like all of the reflection you can get and really use it. And also like stay true to what you want to do, like keep that vision super crystal clear. Because I feel like the balance of those two things is what makes really good painting for me, or that's like been huge to my artistic career, like listening deeply to what people have to say and also listening deeply to my own like calling. Yeah.
How do you reconcile the two? Do you ever feel like you kind of got misled, or you know you were following the wrong intention or something like that?
Yeah, like so there's certain things that people will say. Sometimes I'll get a reflection that I'm like, oh, that actually like brings me closer to like what I want to say or what I'm trying to do. Like it's something I was missing, like a puzzle piece maybe. Versus like sometimes someone will say something like, oh, like, you know, whatever, you should change the color, you should paint for like 10,000 hours a day. And it'll feel like I'll feel it in my body, like with disgust, like, no, that's not for me. So just like following the intuition, letting like what wants to come in to guide me, and then letting go of what doesn't work.
Yeah, I think to me it's like you have to be confident in curating what you see. You know, it's like you filter it and take what you can from it that actually fits with you, what you want to do. You know, you don't want to shut it out completely, but you also don't want to just kind of be at the whim of what everyone else is doing out there.
Yeah, totally. I bet especially like as an interviewer photographer, you know, like who you work with and like guiding that path. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, video is very like it like caters itself well to social media and online. So it's like you're just constantly seeing these little this 1 minute hype video from someone that like was in a helicopter and like did this Red Bull thing, you know. It's like you're always seeing something awesome and you're like, damn, like why aren't, like maybe I should try to do that. Yeah, maybe I should be doing that. And the equipment, you know, maybe I need to get a new camera. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff out there that can kind of pull you in all different directions. Yeah,
exactly. That's a really good metaphor. The like videos on Instagram especially, you know, it's like such a highly saturated like little like environment.
I think for me, I also shifted from feeling like I needed to be competing with those people to just like trying my best to just feel good for them. You know, like I'm glad that happened for you. I'm not gonna feel like I need to even compare myself to it at all. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really great way of looking at it. Removing even like the competition, just like it's all love. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't do everything. Yeah, and that's also a huge sign of like self-love, you know, like loving like your own thing, where you're coming from. Like what anyone else does isn't a reflection on like your value. Yeah, that's awesome. And like going back to the pressure thing we were talking about, as an artist, there's a lot of pressure to make work and to be like, put your like whole like heart and soul into it. And for me, like that has been like the biggest pleasure for sure. Like it's just something where I know it's like my first language. It's like the best way that I can talk about and express like all this like crazy like mishmash of life, you know, that we all have and we all experience. So to have like
an outlet to let that out that is also pleasurable, I feel like is why I paint, you know? And that is like for me personally. And I just like really want to validate any like artists that might be coming from a place of like, oh, you know, like I enjoy painting, but I don't want to like push and like make it my whole life. Like, enjoy your painting, make art. Like, art isn't about like pain or like push, it's about pleasure. Yeah.
How did you come to that realization?
Probably when I started like allowing myself to even like experience pleasure and dive into it. I think along with the like sexual repression of Christianity, when we suppress our body, we suppress our desires and our sensations, and because our body is so intricately connected to our emotions. So like when I was able to let like my body experience pleasure, I was also able to know like what are my true desires in life, like give myself some agency, you know? So yeah, now I like, when I feel something that like feels good and I resonate with, like painting, I don't try and shut it down. I like listen to it and go with it, you know? Yeah, it's like, it's such a blessing. I think about this all the time, like it's such a gift to be, we were talking about this, like to be an artist in New York, to be making work here. What a pleasure, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has that within them as well. Something,
Word.
You know, what, regardless of what it is.
Yes, that's so true, yeah. Whether it be like cooking or running or having kids and a family, like there's so many outlets. And it's also layered, like as I've grown as a painter, it doesn't have to be like a monogamous relationship. Like I have other loves, like gardening, for sure is a big one for me, or yoga or meditation, like just being open, because they all like feed each other at the same time too.